Thank you for listening to the Speaking Out on Sex Abuse podcast with hosts Clara and Jimmy Hinton. If you're new to the podcast, please look us up on your favorite podcast app, subscribe, like, and share so that you never miss an episode. If you'd like to further support us, visit patreon.com/speakingout and check out the different rewards. You'll find exclusive rewards if you sign up as a patron of the podcast. Thank you for your support, and let's get into the show. Welcome to this week's podcast. Thank you, as always, to our patrons who make this podcast possible. We had a jam-packed month, a short month.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of stuff with our patrons already. So
we did, which was wonderful and fun.
It was. We did our live Q&A. Mm-hmm. We did our book club group via Zoom and took some magnificent questions, had some really good dialogue. And anyway, we love our patrons. We love that there are more and more people signing up, supporting us, and also that you, the patrons, are getting rewards.
Right.
So thank you. So this week we thought we would just talk about some of life's circumstances, right? Because life has been a little bit challenging for our family the last couple weeks, and also we've had some really good things.
We've had both ends of the spectrum, and we're trying to balance that out right now, trying to enjoy the really, really happy stuff and appreciate the small blessings that come along with the not so happy stuff.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And we wanted to talk about this and kind of give you a glimpse into our life a little bit, because I think I talk about this in ministry a lot. There are always these really high mountaintop moments, and simultaneously there are always these rock bottom experiences happening at the same time. So oftentimes that's happening in other people's families, but then you have it happen in your own family, and we're kind of in that moment right now with two of these huge events, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But I was on the way to officiate a wedding a few years ago for one of my church members, and on my way there, I was like 5 minutes from my house. I had just left. I'm on my way to this big, happiest day of their life. The couple's happy, the family's happy, friends and family are celebrating, and I get a phone call that one of my church members was just hours away from death. And so obviously I wasn't able to go down and sit with her. With her husband was the one who was dying. And, she's a really good friend, and we love her, and, really she's like family. And I thought, what a juxtaposed contrast.
It's so hard because you want to be at both places.
Yeah.
You want to experience that wonderful joy, but you also want to be there to help. And we often cannot be at both places. And it makes it really hard to...
And sometimes we are in both places.
Right, or sometimes we
sometimes
are.
Our family is experiencing life and death at the same time.
Right now. We are up, down, and not quite knowing, from minute to minute. Right.
So I think, part of why we wanted to do this episode was, one, is to kind of demystify this whole notion of advocates that have this like even-keeled, we just like rush right in there and we're kind of like robots, we know how to manage life, and we go in and we kind of kick butt and take names, and we go in there and we conquer the world,
do the stuff, and
that's not our reality.
Life is happy all the time, and
so in the world of advocacy, we live, eat, and breathe just like everybody else, and we have the same problems that other people have, and life is going at like breakneck speed for all of us. So I kind of, we talked about giving a glimpse into that life within advocacy, but the other part of that is just to kind of speak grace into the lives of survivors who oftentimes feel like, am I crazy that I'm struggling so bad?
Right.
And the answer is a resounding no. There's so much going on in everybody's life at any given point, and the good moments don't last forever, and the bad moments don't last forever. So there is kind of I guess, a
I
timestamp
read
on
a
those
quote
things.
early this morning. I always start my day with positive reading, some scriptures, some prayer, and a lot of positives. And one of the positives I read this morning was that every storm eventually runs out of rain. And I thought that's true.
Yeah,
The rain will not last forever.
yeah.
Eventually, that rain will stop, the storm will calm, and life will get back on an even keel again. And I think I'm kind of chewing the last of my lunch. Sorry. I ate standing up
Gross.
right before I came in. It's like,
Well,
oh,
don't go choking,
no,
Granny.
I'm not
We don't.
choking.
We don't need the Heimlich while we're
No,
recording here.
that would be an adventure. Let me tell you, me and
If it could
you,
happen to anybody,
me,
it would happen to you.
the two of us together. No, I'm sorry. That would be a nightmare.
And today we're recording on 2/22/22.
Yes, this would be the day.
And I had to look and make sure it's not 2:22 in the afternoon. It's
Wouldn't
not.
that
So
be
we're good.
weird? Yeah. No, life is fragile. Life changes from minute to minute. Everybody has a storm of some sort to deal with.
Yeah.
But I think what we need to remind each other is that in the midst of every storm surrounding us, there is always some kind of calm.
Yeah.
And we are left with a job, and I do call it a job because it's hard work sometimes, to extract those little tiny sunbeams that are around us and kind of stop and breathe those in. Just pause and breathe in those little bits of hope, because they'll carry us through the storm to the next hour and through the next hour and through the next hour. And when we're not able to find those little rays of hope, hopefully and prayerfully, someone will pull up alongside of us. And, all we need sometimes is a refreshing smile and a reminder, hey, there's fresh coffee down the hall. Let's go get some. We've been experiencing that the past week. And let me tell you, fresh coffee tastes mighty good when you're in the middle of a storm,
Yeah.
so to speak. And, it's life gets crazy for all of us.
So we'll tell you about our moments. Well, first of all, our really high moment is that one of my younger sisters just had a baby, her and her husband. So we now have a new granddaughter of yours
We
that you're
do.
actually leaving
Yes.
in 2 days to go down
Yes.
and visit.
To go meet that little girl.
So,
I know.
such a moment of excitement in our family and energy and, everything that comes with a newborn baby.
Let's just say this sister of Jimmy's, my daughter, had a horrible first pregnancy. Lost one baby, nearly
While
lost,
she was in Haiti,
While
lost a
she was in
baby.
Haiti, could have very realistically lost her own life. Came back to the States, and midway through her next pregnancy, got hypertension so bad that it was a life-death situation. When this little fellow was born, he was not breathing. He had to be intubated. So she ended up staying herself in intensive care, and he in the NICU intensive care for 18 days. And that was not fun. But at the end of that storm, there's a healthy little boy,
Yeah.
and we remind ourselves of that every day. But this pregnancy was beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect all the way through. Healthy mom, healthy baby, happy dad, happy mom,
Yeah.
happy baby. So
Yes.
we are celebrating.
So, yeah,
Yes.
she leaves in 2 days. I just got back from a weekend camp out with all of my brothers. There are 5 of us living now, and we started doing an annual camp out with each other after my oldest brother, Mike, died. He died at the age of 42. He died of a heart attack. And so us brothers kind of got together and we were like, you know what? That could have been any one of us.
Right.
And life is short. Life is precious. We're not going to go through life and regret and say, well, I just was too busy to get together and spend time with family.
Yep.
So, we've made that a top priority in our life. And we go down to the Gatlinburg area in the Smoky Mountains. And we had, just a wonderful, wonderful time. But as we were leaving for that trip, we got word that my oldest sister was very ill. She went into the hospital and ended up, almost immediately on a ventilator.
12 hours later.
And has been since. She actually just, literally minutes ago got extubated. So, they for the last week she's been on a ventilator.
Not just a ventilator.
And fighting for her
every
life.
Tube and life support thing you could think of. I never saw so many tubes and everything coming out of a person. Hopefully this, she actually ended up getting restless, pulling out one of the tubes this morning. So it's too dangerous to reinsert. So they just said, let's give it a try. We'll take these tubes out, at least most of them, not all of them, but most of them. So we're hoping and praying that we will be able to celebrate over this milestone soon.
Yeah. And it's not quite time yet. We're not quite there.
Yet.
She's still incredibly critical.
She's in ICU yet, and, will be for a while.
My one brother and I rode down together and rode back home together, and he lives here in town. And he said, I'm still not at that point where I'm able to wrap my mind around the fact that she may not make it through this. And he said that I'm trying to come to grips with that reality. And he said it's so much harder because we just came off this literal mountaintop experience in the Smoky Mountains. It was so picture perfect from start to finish. While we were down there, we were still getting updates about my sister. And, I just think about how life is so full of all of these ups and downs, and we tend to lose patience with people who are struggling. I think just part of human nature, and I see this in the church a lot. I just had a Bible study this morning online with a group, and we were talking about how church people tend to get really impatient, not with abusers, but with their victims. Like, hurry up and heal, hurry up and get over this, move on. You're dragging us down. And it's such a horrific thing to do to people who are struggling, to have that lack of compassion and understanding. And so, I think if we could say anything, it's that if you're one of those people who's just, life is kicking you in the rear end and you're really struggling, know that we have grace and patience and understanding.
Absolutely.
And, in the middle of all of that incredible noise, and those are two huge things going on in our family right now.
Very big, hard
life
to balance.
Life and fighting death. For life.
We were, she's been fighting. She still is fighting.
We still have the everyday, our jobs. You still have 15,000 things going on.
Right.
I've been getting phone calls literally all day. People need things, and I've been away for a weekend, and it's like the world kind of doesn't know what to do when we're gone, and so people need all these things, and
which is good on an average day. It's more difficult when we're pedaling through the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And as we're talking to you, we know that a lot of you are pedaling through really hard stuff every day without lots of support, and that's hard.
Yeah.
And I will say some of our most calming moments at the hospital were when we would sit together in the waiting area for a while, just kind of leave the room, regroup our thoughts, and just sit together and talk normal talk. As what did you eat? Did you eat breakfast this morning? What did you have? Are you thirsty? What's planned for supper tonight? Just the average, what seems mundane every day becomes really important during those stress moments.
Yeah.
Just because we need to we need to feel normal
Yeah.
in the midst of the chaos.
Yeah.
And I urge everybody, if you don't have that family member or those family members, get a friend, at least a friend, where you can just kind of let your hair down
Yeah.
and do the ugly cry, not feel bad about it,
Yeah. Not be judged for it.
not be judged for it, and
Yeah.
have your friend simply sit with you and
Yeah.
offer that glass of water or that cup of coffee. That's healing. Rushing a person through the grieving process is not healing by any means. And I don't care how strong of a Christian or believer you are in God or prayer, and we are, absolutely. Prayer has been my anchor during the past week. It still hurts and pains when you see a loved one hurting and full of pain. And, when you see those that are around you are hurting.
Yeah.
So I guess we're saying a whole lot of we just need to care for each other,
Yeah.
care and be
I
kind.
think if we create that kind of community, it you lend yourself to healing, and you lend
Right.
yourself to being able to handle the normal chaos of life. Like, yesterday was a day off for my kids, and probably a lot of kids, most kids across the country. But they had a day off, and my wife had to go into work, so she wasn't home. I worked from home, but my kids kept coming down, and the weather was beautiful. It's been
That
so
was so
cold here
pretty
and
yesterday,
snowy,
yeah.
and we're just kind of inching our way into spring, and it was 65 degrees, and it felt like summer
Perfect
and
yesterday. It
sunny.
was
And I
perfect,
felt
yeah.
so bad for the kids because they wanted to spend time with me, and
Right.
they wanted to go outside. They wanted to play. And one of my other sister's kids, my kids' cousins, they were at home alone, and they didn't have anything to do. Both of their parents were at work. So here you have, a middle schooler and a
Yeah.
high schooler sitting at home alone, nothing to do.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? We're going to go out. I told my daughter, I said, call your cousins and see if they want to go down to the baseball field, and we'll
Was
just go
lovely.
we'll
That
just go
was,
play.
yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
so we ended up doing that. And I just kind of put my work aside, and I was like, you know what? Like, this is more important right now.
Sometimes we have to do that.
Yeah.
And that was more important, Jimmy. It was way more important.
And they had the absolute
Yeah.
time of their lives. And I don't think I showed you this picture. I'll show you after we're done here. But my middle kid, who loves baseball,
I heard about it. This story
yeah,
is incredible.
he got
I love
whacked in the
this.
face with a baseball, and the stitches of the ball broke the skin, and you can see the perfect outline of the stitch of the ball down his face. He is the proudest kid. He loves it, and he's like, "Take my picture and send it to Mandy." And
I love that
he's like,
story. When
"Show
she
my
told
scar."
me.
He's
When
like,
she told me.
and he's
Yeah.
like hoping that he gets this permanent scar of this baseball. It's not going to, but like he loved that. And I was like, this is what childhood is supposed to
It
be like for
is.
kids.
That was
And
so awesome.
and it was
Yeah.
so funny because he prayed before he went to bed last night, and he put in his prayer, he said, "And thank you that I got hit in the face by a ball and got a really cool mark."
I just love that. That was wonderful.
But it's like this multi-layered. While we have brand new life, and we're celebrating that with my one sister, we have another sister who's literally fighting to keep her life. And then life goes on, and in between those
Right.
two peaks and valleys, life still goes
And
on.
if that wasn't a ray of hope and a ray of sunshine, I don't know what
Yeah.
was. That was like that brightened my whole morning up when I got told that
Yeah.
story this morning. That's incredible.
Yeah,
It
so
was
he
wonderful.
he's hoping to get a permanent scar.
I love that.
So maybe we'll do like a fake tattoo for a while once that fades
I
and
love
heals.
that.
But he was so proud of that.
I'm sure he was.
And my kids just, for all afternoon yesterday, just they ran and ran and ran and played with their cousins, and we all played baseball together, and it was so.
Sometimes
was
we
so
need to
fun.
just let loose like that and let go. other people don't always understand, but my other daughter, and I are leaving for just a couple days to visit the new baby. And we both said we need that tiny break to refresh, regroup, to come back because we know it's going to be a long haul ahead. This is not going to be an easy, she's not going to sit up one day and just walk out of the hospital. It
Yeah.
won't be that easy. So we need to replenish, refresh, do that without guilt. And sometimes, we feel burdened with guilt over
Yeah.
something like that.
I need to be
So,
there. I need to.
right.
What if something happens?
So that
And that can
breakaway,
cripple you to
it
where you
can,
don't live
yeah.
life.
And then you are not a help
Yeah.
because an empty cup can't fill anyone.
Yeah.
We can't help, quench someone's thirst when we are empty. So I guess we're giving you a whole lot of insight, should we say, into our lives, what we've been dealing with the past couple weeks, trying to balance everything, stay focused. I find myself when I'm in a stressful situation like that, it's hard to focus. I have to write things down.
Yeah.
Last night after going to the hospital, I came back and I worked till 11:30 in the evening, and believe it or not, I was very focused during those 4 or 5 hours because I had done what I needed to do. I had been in that hospital room. I had seen little bits of improvement, and that was enough to keep me going. Then
Yeah.
I could focus. But I love what you said, Jimmy. Sometimes we need to do what's most important first. We really do.
And
And
sometimes we don't know how to prioritize.
right,
For me, I've gotten to the point where I just don't care what people think. And so, that's, I mean, there are obviously good and bad things about that, but, for me, it's kind of following
I think it's
my
in a
gut
good way
and saying,
because you've been a people pleaser as I have been, and you've always gone the extra, not 1 mile, but the extra 10 or 20
yeah,
miles in
but
anything that you do.
I have probably
So,
80 emails and text messages that are just stacked up, and I refuse to answer them. Not
oh,
because
right,
I don't care for those people,
right.
and some of it's really critical stuff that they're dealing with. But I need those times to step
You
away and
do.
be like, I
Yes,
have enough
yes, you
going on in
do.
my own life.
There's a
I can't
lot
take on
going on,
everybody
right?
else's
No,
problems, not at this
no.
time.
And you don't
Um,
need to feel guilty about that.
no, and
Right,
you have to pace
right,
yourself.
right.
And
I
I
think
think
that's
that's a big life lesson that I had to learn is
right,
you can and you will burn out. If you're
right.
always trying to help people and you never get a break from that, you will burn out.
What about the person that needs help? What advice could you give that needs help? Kind of ask for it or subtly ask for it. We have a tough time, don't we? Any person does, really, asking for help. Uh, how do you get that help, or how do you teach yourself? I'll talk
Yeah,
after you do. It took me a couple wake up calls here to learn how to pace and get help. But
yeah. I don't. I'm probably not the best one to answer that question because I'm probably the worst person to the last person anyhow to ask for help. I still am learning that it's okay to ask for help. Um, I will say with a caveat, some people are are okay at asking for help. Some people are good at asking for help. But I would say for the people who ask for help and like this, there are obviously people asking me for help,
right,
not getting a response. I would say just have understanding when you don't get a
right.
response. Don't
That's
take
what I
that
was.
personally.
Right.
Don't get mad. Don't get frustrated. Don't think that people
Try
don't
someone
care.
somewhere or someone else
Right. Or circle back
because
and
right.
just say, hey, did you get my message?
Or
Wait
hey,
a
are
week.
you okay?
Yeah.
I've learned to ask that question more often because we don't know what a person what kind of a heavy
I,
load
I don't
a
get those
person is
messages. I get,
carrying.
why aren't you answering me? Not, are you okay? Like I could be laying in a ditch somewhere. Why aren't you answering me?
I
But,
did.
you know,
I did give a feisty voicemail on Sunday because I had been kind of attacked a little bit, and I thought, you know what? I am just going to tell it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
And this person, I knew they were there because I watched them walking with their phone, refused to answer, had left me a nasty note on my desk. Nasty. And I thought,
Wasn't me
no,
because I was away.
no, yeah,
I'm just
no,
saying.
this doesn't sit today. It
Yeah.
doesn't sit any day. And I called and said, I did not say this. I did not do this. And went on, and in a rather abrupt voice, I said, I have problems in my life right now. My daughter, and I went on to explain.
Mm-hmm.
That lady ended up calling me about an hour later, and she said, I am so sorry. I didn't
Yeah.
know that you were going through anything, and I apologize. I jumped the gun. I thought that was you. She said, I should have known better. But sometimes we have to vocally say, hey, I'm having an issue right
Yeah.
now. I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I simply cannot.
Yeah.
And we need to feel okay with that
Yeah.
because, like I say, if as many people that tug and pull at you as a minister, as a dad, as a leader in the community, as a public speaker, as a
Mm-hmm.
husband, you have so many hats that you
Oh, I
wear.
know. I had a media interview today. There's a reporter working on a big story. I was interviewed for that. And she literally called as I was hanging up with the online Bible study group. We do a
Wow.
weekly
Yeah,
online
I know
group.
you do. Yeah.
It's like back to back to back. And in the meantime, I'm on with the reporter. My phone, the call waiting just keeps beeping and beeping
Right.
and beeping and beeping. And I
Right.
had like 4 voicemails just in a 30-minute period where I was talking on the phone. So it never stops.
And I guess we eventually learn to filter through those and
You
take
have
the
to.
most important first.
Yeah.
And I always ask myself this question now, and I don't know, it's been about since Mike died. Is this a life or death situation?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, then it can wait.
Yeah.
And I leave it.
Yeah.
And because I know that if I am off balance and if I get empty, I'm not going to be able to help you
Mm-hmm.
or anybody else around me.
Yeah.
I will not function myself. So we really do need to learn to love ourselves. We
Mm-hmm.
truly do. And when we don't get the help we need, from that particular person, try someplace else. And there's so much stuff online now that
Yeah.
in the mornings, I take 1 solid hour every morning to listen to Bible verses, positive sayings, all those things. They're music.
Mm-hmm.
We can listen to worship music. It's all available to us
Yeah. I
for free.
I call, I have periods every day that I call wasting time. And it's not really wasting time. I think when you put things in perspective, for me, this is just what I need. But it's like the 30-minute periods of time where I just veg out and watch stupid, like,
Funny stuff. It's
yeah,
got to be. Yeah.
funny
Laughter is wonderful.
YouTube videos, or just like
Yeah.
sometimes the algorithms know me on Instagram. So literally I basically use Instagram just to go through reels, and like all these funny videos,
Funny.
like people
Oh,
are
yeah.
pretty genuinely funny.
Yes,
There's a lot of funny
absolutely,
stuff out there that's
absolutely.
just
Clean
such
fun, and it's just
nonsense.
yes, and you
But I love it.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that's like, I need that 30 minutes a day to just laugh at nothing.
one of the best things you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
And we advise you all to do that. Burnout is real. It's terrible.
Yeah.
When you just get down in that valley and you're so expended of energy mentally and physically and spiritually.
Yeah.
And it's not a healthy place to be. So we urge you not to, not to get there. Guard against that.
Yeah.
And share with us. We love comments, by the way. Share with us some of the things you do. We're sharing what we do in our lives. I'm a word puzzle person, and I love playing. Like at the end of the day, I take 30 minutes and just play word puzzles on my iPad. That totally relaxes me.
She spends 30 minutes and plays Wordle.
I do play Wordle. I'm going to tell you something. I got it
probably-
in 2 tries this morning.
You
and
probably cheat.
I know. It was awesome. I guessed a word. first time around, and it had 4 of the 5 letters. All I needed was one letter.
That's pretty
and
impressive.
got it.
I can't play Wordle.
I was so happy.
Everybody in my family except me plays Wordle, and
I love
my
that
brain
game.
does not work that way. So, yeah,
Find your thing. Find your cup of tea, so to speak. Take care
Definitely.
of yourselves. Reach out when you do need help. Find that one person that you can share a cup of coffee with, or just go have a meal with, or a snack. I don't know, just anything.
and be patient with other people who are struggling. When you
yes,
see people, when people are slow to respond, when people look stressed out,
Yes.
feel stressed out, be patient with them and just ask them. Like you said, I love that. Are you okay?
Are
Is there
you
anything,
okay?
Is there anything
As
that
a
you need?
young mother, God taught me some really good lessons about that. I was healthy, busy, active. I really could whip the workout and toss kids around, and without any problem at all. And I would look at other people kind of like, man, what is your problem? And I can remember,
Lift yourself up by
yeah,
the bootstraps
right,
and move
right.
on. Yeah.
And God let me get knocked flat. And it took me a long time to get back up again. And in that period of time, I've learned to kind of look for people who are not smiling, and they're moving slower, and they're disorganized, and they can't focus, and they can't think. And I think to myself, man, I've been there. I know. I
Yeah.
know. I've
Yeah.
been there. How can I help you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, life moves at a very fast pace, and I'm distracted. I see a bee, and I know you're allergic to bees.
Where
I guess
you
it's
see a bee.
on my desk here. So we'll wrap up, and I'll
Okay,
get rid of this thing before
you're
she
gonna
goes
kill a
into.
bee.
Yeah, she's highly
Before
allergic to
it kills
bees.
me. Okay.
So,
All right.
So anyway, take care of yourself.
Yes,
Be
please.
patient with people, and know that you're not alone. If you're struggling, you are not alone, and it's okay. It is genuinely okay to
Right.
struggle. It's okay to admit you need help.
And take time to replenish yourself, please.
Definitely.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys for tuning into this episode, and we will catch you next round.
Thanks again for listening to today's episode. A special thank you to our patrons who make this podcast possible. Please help us get the word out by searching for the Speaking Out on Sex Abuse podcast in your favorite podcast app. Be sure to hit subscribe and rate the show. Please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a patron, and check out the rewards our patrons receive.